This is one of the most disturbed things that I have ever seen in politics. One of the most truly disgusting, despicable things I have ever seen anyone in politics say. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm going to read this to you in just a minute. But Laura Loomer, who is a Trump supporting zealot, I thought of a whole bunch of other words to say there. She was on a rampage on Twitter today saying some really disgusting and disturbing things about Joe and Hunter Biden and their family. She recently was in the news for saying that Democrats should be executed for treason. And today she outdid herself. She makes Ann Coulter look like Princess Diana. That's how bad this is. This is really bad. We're gonna get into it. So she starts the whole thing on a rampage about him being a convicted felon, and I'm gonna say it over and over. The father of a convicted felon. Well, it doesn't matter for you because you don't care about Donald Trump being convicted. So why now suddenly does it matter for you when it comes to Hunter Biden? Reality is it doesn't. They just want a talking point. There's a double standard there because they have to defend, the fact that Donald Trump is a convict. She goes on to say, these people in the Biden crime family are pathetic. They are the lowest of lows, perpetual victims who lack self-control. The projection is so unbelievably loud. Donald Trump is a perpetual self-victimizer. He operates off DARPO every single day. Deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. Every single day, this guy is the victim. They're all after me. Everybody, the millions of people, they're all against me. So it's just a detachment from reality. This is where it gets really, really bad. Joe Biden makes a statement, essentially, about this, and Laura Loomer goes on about Hunter Biden's conviction, and Laura Loomer goes on to say, proud of the fact that your son is a convicted felon addict who effed your dead son's wife? Now, what a failed father Joe Biden is and always has been. Too bad you weren't there for Beau when Hunter was banging his wife. You were there for Ashley, though, in the shower. It doesn't get better. It gets worse. I'm not even really sure what to say. Like, look, I get it. It's weird that Hunter Biden started dating Beau Biden's, his sister-in-law. It is weird. Like, we get that. He's going through an immense amount of trauma, though, right? Like, life is messy. It's complicated. They're two consenting adults. However we view about it from the outside, we don't really know the trauma that they were going through. And people do things that are irrational, things that they shouldn't do, things that are bad judgment because they're trying to figure out their place in the universe, because they're trying to figure out the loss of someone that they both deeply care about. I get it. It's messy. I get it. It looks odd from the outside and looks weird. But keep that in mind, like an incredible amount of trauma, they're trying to work through that. So, just a weird, bizarro take. And I feel like Laura Loomer probably has some skeletons in the closet, to be completely honest with you. I would not be surprised at all. This is where it gets absolutely despicable. As if the last part wasn't bad enough. And this isn't going to be the end of it. It does go on to get even worse. Hey, at Joe Biden, I know your dementia has eaten your brain worse than Beau's, but your degenerate son Hunter isn't Jill's son. Hunter is the son of your dead wife. The one you were cheating on with Jill Biden. Your first wife who died in a suspicious car accident that you falsely blamed on an innocent man. For while you were having an affair with Jill. Get a grip, facts matter. I don't even care to the validity of this statement in terms of whether or not that was true about his wife. What a despicable thing to do to go after somebody's dead wife. And what a despicable thing to do to go after Beau, who's a veteran, who died because of toxic burn pits in Iraq. What an absolutely grotesque, evil thing to say. It's giving Axis Sally. It really is. This is a veteran that the Republicans claim to care about and claim to love. And she's attacking him because he had cancer in the brain? Is this what we've come to politically as a country? This is despicable. I don't care if a Democrat said this. I don't care if an independent said this. This is beyond the pale on every level. it's hard to even formulate why someone, and think about, like, why would someone even attempt to go after someone's family to this degree? Like, absolutely grotesque. Um, and then she goes on. We're getting to the worst part. Um, then she goes on to talk about how Jill was cheating on, or Joe was cheating on Jill with his, or Joe was cheating on his wife with Jill, and then about the suspicious car accident, et cetera, et cetera, because they keep going back to this. Like, this is a horrific moment. Like, everything that she is mentioning are horrific moments in Joe Biden's life, right? Things that caused an immense amount of trauma, an immense amount of pain, and something that Joe Biden, you can tell, I just did a video over on TikTok where Joe Biden is talking about the loss of a child at a gun convention today, right? And it's very clear from that video that he understands people's pain when it comes to losing kids, and for them to go after him for that is unbelievably gross. This is something that causes him a lot of trauma. This still does, very clearly does. But I guess nothing is beyond attack for these people. They'll just go after whatever. I mean, like, the lack of humanity. She goes on to say that someone's saying that she's hitting below the belt. No, it's not hitting below the belt. It's called the truth. I'm going to call out the screwed up, criminal, degenerate Biden family every chance I get because they deserve it. As though Donald Trump doesn't have a cabal of criminals around him. The guy has pardoned all of his friends. There are dozens of people that have been convicted or are facing charges around him. So if Biden cared about his dead son, he wouldn't have let Hunter Biden sleep with his dead son's wife. As though Joe Biden's over here like, yeah, I'm going to totally allow it. I have total control over this. I have total control over this. The American people deserve to see how dysfunctional the Biden family is. They all belong in drug rehab, assisted living, in jail, not the White House. There will be retribution for what these evil bastards have done to President Trump. What, beat him in an election? What did they do to Trump? Beat him in an election? You guys just claiming, oh, it's political persecution. And why was Hunter Biden charged and convicted today? How could you claim that it's political persecution if he is convicted today? That doesn't make any sense. And on top of that, Donald Trump today released a statement saying something to the effect of, I would pardon Hunter Biden because I don't believe these are serious crimes. So he's literally admitting, like, yeah, he was legitimately convicted. So how are you going to say that there's political persecution? This, though, actually, this is actually going to be hard to read. She continues, what about the stripper he knocked up and had a baby with? That little girl will be lucky if she doesn't grow up to be a stripper like mommy. Girls who grow up without fathers always become victims, and then those women become the other man's problem. It's hard for me to even, I cannot believe that somebody wrote this. I just can't believe that somebody wrote these unsubstantiated, insane, disgusting, disturbed lies. I mean, and just talking about children, what's wrong with you? MAGA should be going up and having some principles and saying, this is disgusting, don't do this. But no, Donald Trump's probably going to have Laura Loomer on the circuit for him. Who would talk about someone's, I think Hunter Biden's daughter's like 4 or 5? The lack of any degree of humanity here is so unbelievably gross. She then continues, imagine actually believing Hunter is clean. I wouldn't be surprised if he was smoking crack right now to cope with the charges. It won't end well for Hunter. Never usually ends well for addicts who are surrounded by enablers. Hope he keeps Narcan nearby. What a mess. Also, why are Americans supposed to feel sorry for Joe Biden's drug-addicted son? Imagine having sympathy for a millionaire who could afford to live in addiction counselor, or could have a live-in addiction counselor, but he chooses to do drugs instead. There are people who can't afford rehab. Hunter Biden doesn't deserve sympathy and is another manipulation tactic by Biden family in an effort to avoid responsibility. Joe Biden failed as a father. It's no wonder why several of his kids become hypersexualized drug addicts. These things become genetic after a while. Now we're going into this bizarro, bullshit, almost like race science adjacent crap. Good Lord. The Biden kids have their issues. Like, we know this. The Biden kids have their issues, 100%. They had a dad that was a senator, right? They had a completely different circumstances growing up than we ever did. Incredibly different circumstances, right? Dad's always in the spotlight. Um, he's away. He's working on stuff. He's traveling. The list goes on, you know? Sometimes you have issues with your kids, and sometimes it's not anything that's apparent that you can solve, just something that you can try and be there for and support them for. And it's wild to me, you know, as a dad, watching people judge people's kids to that degree. You know, I've talked about this before in my streams. My sister died to addiction, right? And it's not something that you can really control, you know? I watched her try and get clean. I watched her um, and her fail, and she had resources to do it. You know, just having an addiction counselor doesn't mean that you're not going to relapse. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have problems going forward. And the fact that I have to explain this in modern day America is disturbed and disgusting. It's not like people can just flip a switch and then they're better, you know? Addiction is an impulse that people largely can't control. They largely can't control, you know? And we all experience it to some degree, like that feeling of just impulse where we're going to do this. Addicts do the same thing. The Biden kids have their issues. Hunter Biden has his issues. Joe Biden has attempted to be there for his kids, as a dad should. And I think it's really disturbing because I've always looked at Joe Biden as being the type of person that you would want your grandparent to be, right? The type of person that is there, that is supportive, that is just a great person, very conversive. And the Republicans attack him, you know, for all of his family stuff, and have. Laura Loomer today did a really extensive, insane attack on him. But the Republicans, to some degree, attack Joe Biden's family on a regular basis, all the time. And it's beyond the pale. We don't see Joe Biden running around talking about Donald Trump's kids. In fact, we don't see anybody running around talking about Donald Trump's kids much at all. But for the Republican Party, nothing's off limits because they don't have policies, they don't have a plan, they don't know what they're going to do. So they attack Hunter Biden's child and Joe Biden's child for issues that they have that they're trying to work through. Like, they're not bad people, right? Everybody has issues. But Hunter Biden's not, you know, and Joe Biden, they're not bad people. And to go after them with this kind of vitriol, it's disgusting on every level.